Good morning. Welcome to Now You Know on a beautiful October day. It still feels like summer here, and we're very fortunate to have this weather. And we're also fortunate to have a young lady by the name of Amy Rowbottom, and she owns a business called Crooked Face Creamery, and we're standing right outside of that. It's on 42 Court Street, Somerset Grist Mill location. Nice spot. And Amy, you've been here for what, 2 years or so?
About 2 years, yep.
Yeah. And you make cheese.
I do.
That's the strong point. There are other products too, but
yep.
Cheese is the big thing.
Yep.
Now, tell me, how'd you get in the cheese business?
So I grew up on a dairy farm just down the road. Sadly, I didn't know at the time that I wanted to be a cheesemaker. That would have been a great time to start when I was a little kid on the farm. But I grew up, yeah, like I said, I grew up on the farm, loved that lifestyle, but went off to school and pursued other things, did some traveling, ended up in Burlington, Vermont, where I was surrounded by farms and artisan cheese, and yeah, very beautiful, and just felt the pull back to Maine. I grew up, my family was having a hard time finding hay help, and just felt like I needed to be here, and didn't know at the time that we were thinking initially just milking cows, but then we wanted to do something value added. And so that's when I started to look into cheese. I had a friend down the road, Debbie Height, very good friend of mine. I was talking to her about how I could be more involved in the farm, because we were milking a small herd of Jerseys, and we wanted to do something value added. I was still working off the farm at the time, and she recommended, why don't you start playing around with cheese? And we got together one weekend. I brought a bunch of milk with me, and all weekend we made all sorts of different kinds of cheese, and I fell in love with the process, and that was the very beginning of it all.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Now, the name Crooked Face Creamery. Now, tell me, where did that come from?
So our first herd of cows, we had this one Jersey who had a crooked nose. It's called a rye face. It's kind of common in Jerseys, and she was just the character, like on the farm. They all have their own personalities, and she was a worker. Like most Jerseys love to be coddled and scratched on, and she was like strictly business, and she was one of our best producers, and so anyway, we called her Crooked Face. It's just like they all have their own names, and she was just such a character. And when I started making cheese, it just had such a nice ring to it. And I started doodling, the cow face, and next thing you know, kind of that's how it all came about. So
now you you were producing cheese right at the farm for quite a long time, right?
I took a year of just development, recipe development, just nights and weekends, 1 to 2 gallon batches, really small scale, still working full time, so it would be nights and weekends.
You're working on the farm full time?
Working off the farm full time, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it was a really slow progression, but it was a great year. I had some cheese tastings with family and friends, and I would write these recipe cards, these tasting cards, and have them write down what they thought of each cheese, and really tried to hone in on what exactly I wanted to make. Because I knew I went to visit creameries, I went to cheese shops all over, and I was trying to get ideas of what could be my little niche. Because I was learning so late in life, I was in my mid-20s, but when you're dairy farming and you're working full time, you can't necessarily jump off and go do an internship somewhere, or put a hold to really dive in and learn from somebody else or go to classes. Dairy farming's, you milk cows twice a day. I was working, 9 to 5 job, and it was really hard to find the time to go to classes and learn. So I was learning on my own, and I knew that I really needed to simplify and figure out a few cheeses that I could make really well, market them as far as I could, and create my own little sort of niche. And so So that was what that year was all about. What do I make?
And you started out with ricotta, right? Or
yeah,
smoked ricotta.
and I'm still making those cheeses today, which is funny. It's 12 years later and I'm still making those core cheeses, but I've strayed a little bit. I've tried to expand as much as I've been, I can, but the ricotta is the main engine of the business. We make it fresh every week. We have strong wholesale and retail accounts, and that's what drives us forward. But then when I first started out, I also started making a Gouda style cheese. I've sort of shifted gears there, and I'm doing more of a Havarti style now, and a washed rind raclette. That's been new. I just started that about 2 years ago. So.
Tell me about the Havarti. That's is that a Danish or cheese?
Yeah.
I've had it before and I really liked it.
Yeah, with almost a Swissiness to it too. Yeah. And the original recipe was created by a woman who traveled across Europe and learned cheese making from all sorts of different farms and developed this recipe. And it's got a cool story behind it. And I was getting, when you have I now have a retail shop, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But when people come in, you get requests for things, and it gives me ideas of, maybe I should go in that direction, or this is what people want, And I had received a few requests for a Havarti style, and not many people are making it. And so I thought maybe this will be a fun one to try to kind of expand our offerings here.
Very good.
Yeah.
So, anyways, you were working a regular day job. You were milking cows on the farm and doing other chores, and you were making cheese. So you were going in 3 directions. So that sounds pretty tiring to me, Amy.
Well, my ex-husband now, he ran the dairy. He did most of the milking. Yeah, I wasn't doing all of that.
Okay.
I mean, I was certainly helping out when I could, but he basically ran the dairy. And like I said, I was working off the farm. And that's helpful, of course, but I didn't feel like I had much of a place there. I didn't have a role, and other than helping out here and there. So when I found cheese, I found a way that I could contribute, where I can be there and be hands-on. And when I first started going to farmers markets, and I had my table with my cheese, and people would come up and try it, and they were excited. I was like, oh my God, I love that. And so it just inspired me to continue working on it. It was a couple of years before I went full time. And so it wasn't something I just jumped in full time right away. I just had to practice and work on things and refine my recipes and go visit cheesemakers here and there. And the main cheese guild, super supportive. So there's so much knowledge there. I was able to tap into that resource and kind of refine my idea of how the business would work. And then so it took many years before I decided to go in full time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So while you were developing things, and the smoked ricotta was the big thing that really got the ball rolling, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that was many years later. That was 7 or 8 years down the road. I had started out making the fresh ricotta, plain ricotta, pressed herb ricotta, where we press the ricotta overnight so that it can stand alone on a cheese board. And that was our big seller at the farmer's market. And then I started to make some smoked cheeses, but I started out with the Gouda. And so I was working for Maywood Heat Company at the time. They were based in Norwalk, now they're based in Skowhegan.
Yes.
They make those beautiful wood-fired ovens and masonry heaters. And so after work, I would ask if I could use their wood-fired oven to smoke cheese in it. And so I was finding the smoked Gouda was just like selling out at market. I could not make enough of it. And so I decided to actually, I applied for a grant with the Department of Ag to have a custom cheese smoker built for me.
Okay.
And I had Maywood Heat make it because they're metal fabricators, and they designed this beautiful cheese smoker. But it was, at that time I was full on cheese making, and my daughter was just about a year old. And at this point, my ex-husband and we had separated. So I was doing this 100% on my own full time. And I was like, well, the cash flow is a huge issue because you have to when you make aged cheese, you have to let it age for at least 60 days.
Okay.
So I was like, what can I do in this smoker that's a little faster turnaround time because I can't really wait that long, to get any return.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
So then I started, so the idea popped in my head, like what could I make that I'm already set up for, that I don't have to invest a lot more in equipment, materials. And I was like, well, I'm making ricotta. That would be so interesting as a smoked ricotta. You don't see that anywhere. And so I remember that day that I smoked my first batch. It was, I let it, I got a good smoke going. I used local applewood chips with most of my cheeses.
Oh, hence the
applewood smoked. Yep. And so I lined up all my little cheeses and I smoked it for about 15-20 minutes, and I took it out and tasted it, and I was just like, this is something really different and unique. And so that kicked me into a wholesale market. I was really only retail and farmers markets before that. And I was so small batch that I couldn't really compete with ricotta that was more in a wholesale market, price-wise. So the smoked ricotta was so special and unique, though, that it got me into some really well-known restaurants, and it developed a wholesale market, and that's what helped me grow, because then I needed to make more volume, and I couldn't purchase equipment to make more until I had the demand for it. So that product means a lot to me, because it did open a lot of doors.
So ricotta was started out of necessity, really, right?
Yeah. And I do enjoy making it so much, and it's funny because one of the first markets that I went to, I had whole milk ricotta on my sign, and people just walked right by. They're like, oh, ricotta, you just use that in lasagna. I'm not making lasagna, so I don't need that. And I could hear them talking, and I could see their facial expressions, like, ooh, ricotta's like granular, it doesn't have any taste, and they just walk right by. And so it's like, oh, my ricotta's different. I use whole Jersey milk. It's so rich and creamy.
Were you allowing samples so they could tell?
Not at first. No, I was new. I didn't know how to run a market booth. I showed up with a table and I put my cheeses out all packaged, but I didn't know anything about the way to sample, the way to talk about it. I was so fresh and new to it all. So the next week I did, though. I changed my sign to fresh cow's milk cheese, and I noticed all the other vendors, how they set up and how they sampled, and I was like, all right, I learned a bit, and then I changed my sign just to say fresh cow's milk cheese, and people were interested. They're like, oh, well, what kind? And then they tried it, and they're like, I said, well, it's actually a whole milk ricotta, and they were like, no, it's not. I'm like, it really is. And so after
all about marketing. Huh?
Yeah, after a few years, though, I was able to ditch that and just call it what it was, and so it's been fun to still have those same customers today, so.
Now, a ricotta would be a fresh cheese or whatever, is that the term? Or?
Yeah, it basically means recooked in Italian. Usually ricotta is made from whey, making leftover from making other cheeses. Okay. But I use whole milk, so mine's based on a whole milk recipe.
Okay, so that makes, between that and the smoking process, that makes it a fairly unique product.
Yeah, it does. Yep, and the fact that we press it overnight. So usually ricotta is hand ladled or a looser curd, and designed mostly for cooking. But it makes a wonderful cheese board cheese. We press it overnight so it can stand alone. But we also offer it the other way too. We also offer it in tubs, up to 3-pound tubs for wholesale, 12-ounce tubs here at the shop. When COVID hit and people were cooking more from home, I noticed an increase in sales of the tubs. Oh, okay. So we redid our packaging, and we focused more on that, cooking from home, and people need a little more volume for their big pasta dishes and
well, now that
pizzas.
You mention that, how did COVID change your business?
So when I moved down here, I was focused mostly on building out my wholesale accounts. When I was making cheese at my parents', which was in a tiny cheese room with a 35-gallon vat, and I had been receiving some interest from Whole Foods and some just big distributors, and having some strong sales build up from there, I was able to get some financing for new equipment, but I needed 3-phase power. And my cheese room at the farm was not nearly big enough to house my new equipment, and I needed a bigger space. And so I I was at a loss though, because I really I didn't have much equity, because I kind of started all over again.
Like most young people starting business.
Yeah. So getting financing was really, really hard. I mean, it took like almost 3 years to get that loan for my equipment. And then I had nowhere to put it. So I met with Amber downtown, Amber Lampke, who runs Main Grains. And she's been a friend and an advisor for years. And I was like, I don't know what to do. I have this equipment loan, I can't afford to buy or build anything, and I have these big wholesale markets that are interested in my cheese. And I need to find a place to be for the next 5 years to grow this. And she was like, well, why don't we come check out this space next door? And she had some plans for it, but they had shifted. And I walked in and it had floor drains. It was all open, a concrete. I was like, this is the perfect home for me. And the farmer's market's right out front, which I'd been going to for the last 10 years. And I just felt like this is the fit. So I moved down here to expand wholesale. And then COVID hit within months later. And restaurants closed down. So I had to, like everybody did, had to rethink. I had opened this little storefront just to sell my own stuff, my own cheese and some grass-fed beef that we raise at my parents' farm, and just like merchandise. And but it was really small, you know, and I hadn't put a lot of energy into it because I was focused so much on wholesale. But when COVID hit, I had to rethink things, and I put more energy into the store. And there was, with the farmers market, we developed a pre-order system where we would put the inventory out on the website on like Monday, Tuesday, get orders in. And so we had this whole pre-order pickup going at the farmers market. I developed my own here at the shop, and I remember one day we had a line all the way out to the Rotary of people who had pre-ordered for the farmers market. And so retail sales continued to stay steady and kept me afloat. And that also opened my eyes to how much fun the retail shop has been, because now, there was more demand from the local community. I wanted more selection for them. They're all staying at home, and food helps comfort us in really hard times. And so I was like, what can I do here at the shop to expand and meet that demand? And then just sort of started to collect cheeses from where it's a very small community, so who makes what. And I thought, well, maybe I'll reach out to Spring Day and bring in their blue cheeses. And my friend Carrie at Springdale Farm, she makes this beautiful triple creme. And so I just started to reach out, and next thing you know, we built out a pretty great cheese case. And so that got us through the worst of COVID and has continued to help us.
Would you say that maybe in some respects during COVID, maybe even the retail side might actually have even been better with everybody cooking at home?
Yep.
The commercial side, now the wholesale probably took some sort of hit, didn't it?
Yeah, oh, it definitely did. Yeah. I was glad that wasn't my only outlet to sell cheese.
Yeah.
We have an online store that actually online sales increased as well over the summer, and the shop. So having multiple avenues to sell your product is huge when that happens. If I had just had a wholesale market, I wouldn't have made it through. I also wouldn't have made it through if I was still at the farm, because that traffic of people being in town has helped. It's just been incredible how much that has helped us. So.
Well, you're part of downtown, and there's a lot of walking traffic.
Yeah.
And of course, on Wednesday and on the weekend, Saturday is the farmers market.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people milling around.
Yeah.
So that's got to help you. Are you actually outside as part of the farmers market?
Not anymore. No. I just basically open my doors here, and we're open up here.
Why bother? You're right here anyways.
Yeah, right? I know. I feel like it would be good because if you don't know I'm here.
Yeah.
You walk around the market and you might not notice. We have put out signs like cheese this way, and thought about maybe next summer having a tasting booth out front where someone's sampling and saying this is where you can get it, because you do get missed sometimes. But we're working on signage and marketing and getting the word out of our hours. I've also been feeling out when to be open and being in a downtown space, and we found like lunch hour here at the Miller's table next door. It's a great time to be open because people will browse through before or after. And so we're feeling out what days of the week are best to be open. Right now we're open Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Okay.
we've expanded the hours till from basically 10 to 4 on Thursday, Friday, and Saturdays 9 to 3 when we feel like that's the biggest, the best traffic time.
Okay, so when you're wholesaling, who are you doing it through?
I work with Native Maine.
Okay.
They're a distributor based out of Westbrook.
Okay.
So I work with Native Maine. I work with the Milk Mavens. They are a group of incredible ladies, part of Fuzzy Udder Creamery, based in Whitefield.
Okay.
And we all notice, like, gosh, we're all driving to the same places to try to deliver our cheese. And during COVID, they launched this small distribution company where they buy my cheese, and it's basically they send out a newsletter every Monday to all their accounts. They get the orders in, we get our orders in, they come and pick up product for me to distribute around Maine on Thursdays, and then I buy cheese in from them, from all, like, they've got such great cheesemakers on this list. So that's allowed me to stock the store as well as being part of the Milk Mavens, because I buy cheese from them, they buy cheese from me. So that's been an awesome relationship. So Milk Mavens, Native Maine, and then I do direct as well, like Bigelow Breweries right across the way.
Of course.
I deliver to them. Miller's Tables right here, I deliver to them. So I do direct deliveries as well.
I know you're in specialty shops and farmers markets and restaurants and all throughout the state of Maine. Actually, I've seen a number of them right here in the Skowhegan area.
Yeah.
But I think you had places down east, up in Kingfield.
Yeah.
All over the place.
Yeah.
So you've done pretty well in a short period of time.
Yeah, no, it's been a slow build. I feel like it's been 12 years, and but it has. Over the past 2 years, we've seen a lot of growth, and once the restaurants started reopening, Native Maine picked back up, the Milk Mavens has allowed us. There's no way I could drive all over the place and deliver all the cheese everywhere. So these distributors have been crucial to us expanding as well. So I'm very grateful that they stuck through it all last year and are able to offer that service to us, because cheesemakers need to be making cheese. And when we're all on the road going to the same places, it's so infuriating. We should all be collectively getting together, and they were, I have a lot of respect for them for being brave enough to start that up during such a scary time. But it's allowed me to send cheese to a lot more places than I would physically be able to go myself. So
now tell us a typical week for Amy. How's it go from Monday to Saturday, and probably Sunday for you too? Do you get any days off?
I really try on Sunday.
Okay.
Sunday is the day I really try with all my might to take off.
But what happens Monday morning?
So Monday morning, I start getting my orders in for the week, because I make ricotta fresh every week. So I get all my orders in, order my milk for the week, which usually comes Monday or Tuesday, and I get my milk in from Springdale Farm. They show up in with a 200-gallon transport tank. And we pump it into my storage tank here at the Creamery. So then I make cheese over the next 2 days.
All whole milk in your cheese,
all
right?
Whole milk, whole Jersey milk from their farm, and just outside of Belfast.
No additives, none. Okay.
No. And it's I really enjoy that relationship I have with Carrie at Springdale, because I know how much work goes into every gallon of that milk, and she just drives up and we pump it into my tank, and then I make cheese over the next 2 days as quickly as I can. It's hard to make cheese the day we receive milk, just because it could be any time, and I'm a mom and running around doing a million things, and so I need to start cheese making first thing in the morning to get through to make a whole batch during the day. Okay. So Mondays I order my milk, I get all my sales together, make a plan for the week, go to the bank. Tuesday, Wednesday, making cheese. It's been hard to squeeze in aged cheese this time of year because the fresh cheese curds I don't know if I mentioned that yet, but we started making those here when we moved downtown.
By the way, I bought some of those. They're really good.
Did you?
I love cheese curds.
Nice. Well, I was getting so many people, like I said, they come in and they're like, we drive all the way to Quebec to get cheese curds. You should make them. And I'm like, okay, I will. So if I'm able to squeeze it in and it makes sense with my facility, then I want to give it a try. So cheese curds have been really popular this summer, and so I've been making those fresh every week, and the fresh ricotta. Wednesdays are my ricotta day. Thursdays are smoking and packaging. So doing I smoke butters and the ricotta aged cheeses. So I orders go out Thursday. So my distributors come on Thursday. So Thursdays are slammed. I get here as early as I can and smoke and package, invoice, get everything out the door, because the ricotta has a short shelf life. So you want to get it out the next day. You don't want it sitting around. So the plain ricotta, herb ricotta, is about a 12-day shelf life, and because I don't add preservatives, I make it fresh every week. The smoked ricotta, the smoking preserves it a bit, so it has more of an 18-day, 20-day shelf life. And so yeah, we get orders out on Thursday, and then then shops open. And so the Friday and Saturday we're busy at the shop, and then Sunday I breathe a little bit. And then start over on Monday. So
it sounds big. Now you're not only at the shop, but you get out to different events.
Yeah,
too, I know.
just started to.
And there were a bunch of them recently. The Artisan Bread Fair was one, right? Yep,
that was the first one. That was, we stopped going to events during, obviously there weren't events during COVID, and once we moved down here, building out the space and scaling up. The year before that, I had very limited capacity to do events that year either. So the bread fair was our first back, and then we had the Maine Cheese Festival, which was huge.
Pittsfield, I've never been to that. Has that been going on quite a while?
Yeah, several years.
Several years?
Yeah, I think it's been 2 now in Pittsfield, but we've had it at Savage Oaks Winery. We've had it at Wolf Snack Farm in Freeport. So
it moves around the state.
I think we found a really good home. I don't know the future plans, but Pittsfield seems to be a really good place. There's a big, wide open field. It's easy to get to, and it's beautiful, and it's a pretty central location, especially with cheesemakers are driving, we're all scattered all over the state. So it seems like a good home for it. It's definitely worked well the last 2 years that they've had it there. So we did the cheese festival, and then I did Garlic Fest in Canaan a couple weeks ago.
And I understand that's really ramped up the last few years.
I've been doing it for a few years since they started, I think, and it was a great day.
I found that
so
kind of unusual, the name, the Garlic Festival. I wasn't thinking garlic as being a principal product around here, but apparently I was reading it had 26 vendors, and they were all sorts of products.
Yeah, not just garlic.
Yeah.
But they're roasting garlic on site. I mean, it's the smells and Crazy for Garlic. Erica and Jason, who run that, they're really cool people, and they really got this off the ground. And they grow a lot of garlic at their farm. They're making garlic spreads and all sorts of really cool products. And so it's a beautiful location, really fun atmosphere.
Was it out in that little peninsula area?
Yeah, little island.
Skowhegan side, I guess I call it.
Yep.
Oh, absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, it's a great spot. It's fun in the fall. It's just a fun fall event. I don't go on, it's a 2-day event. We go on Sunday because we're here at the shop on Saturday. It's hard to be in both places, but it's a lot of fun. It really is. I'm looking forward to next year. Let's hope things are a little bit more balanced out.
I'm getting tired of this.
I know everybody is. So
why don't we go inside?
Sure. I can give you a little tour. I might put booties on you guys when we go in the cheese making space, but
okay.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Okay,
we'll go inside. Okay, now we're inside. We didn't have to walk but 3 feet, I think, to get where we are now. We're at the product case for Amy's cheeses.
It's looking a little empty right now because what's today? Tuesday?
Yeah.
It takes, Usually we get pretty wiped out over the weekend, and then we're busy restocking by when we open again on Thursday. So I'm sorry it's looking a little
that's okay.
a little empty, but
that's okay. That's good. That means you're selling stuff.
Yes.
So why don't we identify a few things of your products and maybe describe a little bit about or how they're made and so forth.
Sure. So here, like I was mentioning before, my tubs of our ricotta. I do a number of flavors. We do obviously the cold smoked. We do roasted red pepper, pesto, garlic rosemary, cilantro scallion, and then we offer the plain as well. And then, like I said, we press them overnight. So we also offer them in the pressed rounds that are about 8 ounces. So you'll see those there. We do a chocolate ricotta mousse collaboration with the Bankery.
Tell me about this one.
Yeah.
I saw that on what I was reading, and I said, this is a pretty unique deal. How
we came up with it. It was like a Valentine's Day idea at one point, and like, oh, we'll do this special chocolate ricotta mousse. And then, we had great feedback about it, and then Kate Ray at the Beer Shed in Kingfield started to buy it in for her shop. And she was going through so much of it, and I was like, oh my God. Like at the end, basically at the end of a cheese making day, to then have to make chocolate ricotta mousse is like one more big endeavor. And so I was like, I can't keep up with this. And so I approached Matt at the Bankery, and I was like, Matt, I need help. What do you think about collaborating? Maybe I could send plain ricotta to you. You guys could whip up the mousse. We could bring it back here and package it up and sell it. And so we've been doing that now on a regular basis. People really love the chocolate ricotta mousse.
Well, tell me a little bit actually about the collaboration stuff. It seems as though there's certainly a spirit of collaboration in downtown, and you work with the Bankery. It sounds as though you work with Bigelow Brewing some. And obviously
Miller's Table and the pizza. As somebody who has worked alone for so many years, those collaborations have meant a lot to me, just because I feel like there's a community and support and sharing ideas, and you don't feel alone, and it helps you expand and do new creative things that that kind of expose you to another customer base, like the Brewfest. By making a beer infused or inspired cheese, I'm then at a festival with craft beer people who appreciate the similar things as specialty food, and so you're exposed to a whole different customer base. So collaborations are extremely important for me, and have enabled me to grow.
The main meal, you're involved with them?
Yeah. We sell their ravioli and their pierogies here in the shop, and they use all our ricotta in their filling for their ravioli.
Very nice. Yeah.
So that's been huge too. I mean, that's also allowed me to make bigger batches and grow, because they order in bulk, and they're making their business is exploding. So then it's helping me, and so that's another great example.
You're part of this general farm artisan movement that's going on, and as I've seen it, there's a lot of collaboration going on, and idea sharing, and all this. Main Street Skowhegan, I think, is part of that too. And it's nice to see. It's working out very well. Yeah,
it's great to be in it for sure.
Now, a few other products here.
So,
by the way, chocolate mousse, is that, so you have this as dessert on?
Oh yeah, spoonful after a meal. That's all I need. It signals the end of the meal. It's tasty. It just is like, okay, I'm done. That's what chocolate ricotta mousse is for me. I love it with a little bit of fresh raspberry or strawberries too.
Oh, sounds delightful.
And you need a signal for the end of the meal, right? Like I do anyway. I need like one little dessert and then I'm done. So that's how I love to eat it. But we smoke butter in-house. We work with Casco Bay Butter Company, and they're in Scarborough. And so we do an herb smoked, and we do just a sea salted applewood smoked butter that we sell retail and wholesale. We have Abraham Creamery's Chev. They used to come to the farmers market. They had a huge following, and when they decided to stay back on their farm, they're growing a lot, and they have quite a bit of traffic at their farm. They decided to pull out of market, so I started to offer their cheese here because people love it so much.
What's Chev?
So it's a fresh goat's milk cheese.
Oh, goat's milk cheese. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And then we have here the triple creme from Springdale Farm. That's a brie style. So we have a brie. The frost gully from Winter Hill is more of a camembert style. Blue cheese from Winter Hill. We also carry blue cheeses from Springday Creamery. And this week we ordered in some blue cheese from Fuzzy Udder. Cream cheese from Springdale. Fuzzy Udder has a great, this is one of my favorites of their cheeses. It's called Windswept. It's a sheep-goat milk combination, so very unique. They're all farmstead. They milk their own animals at their farm. Just really unique. And they're the ladies behind the Milk Mavens, which I talked to you about earlier.
Okay.
So fun cheese. Feta from Abraham Balfour Farm in Pittsfield. They make beautiful marinated curds. I also carry their cheddar. When I actually
marinated curd.
Marinated feta. I'm sorry, marinated feta. I make a marinated curd. Sorry, you can edit that out.
Yeah.
I make the marinated cheese curds and the fresh cheese curds here in the case. What was my funny story I was going to tell you? Oh, when I first opened the shop, there was a thing on the news, and this was when I first moved down here, and I was only selling my cheese. And the thing on the news was like, new cheese shop in Skowhegan. And I was so focused on wholesale, I wasn't really doing a lot of other cheeses in my case. I was only opening up on Saturdays. And I got all these people in, and all they wanted was a sharp cheddar. That's all they wanted. They came in and they were like, you don't have cheddar? Like, they looked at me like I had two heads.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I better get some cheddar. That's what everybody wants. And so, so we do. We carry a cheddar from Springdale that we smoke in-house, and I carry Balfour's cheddar as well.
Okay.
And then we have Silvery Moon Creamery. They make a beautiful, it looks like an aged cow's milk cheese, but that's actually a fresh cheese garnished with fresh rosemary and juniper berries. I thought that would be a fun one for fall. We try to buy in new ones every week just to give our customers something if they want a little cheese adventure, something new to try.
Now the fresh cheese you got to be careful with, right? Because you've got a fairly narrow timeline, and when you got to turn it over and people got to use it, if there are no preservatives in it.
Yeah. So, luckily there are no order minimums right now with who I buy my cheese through, which is huge because I can order 6 units if I want to. You know, 6 wedges, 6 rounds of cheese. You know, which if you have to order a certain amount, then it does get like, oh, you don't want it to sit too long and have it, lose it in the end. So I've been able to be conservative and like feel things out, what works, what doesn't. Yeah, and then some of the products like the feta has a great shelf life. The yogurt has a great shelf life. The vacuum sealed aged cheeses usually handle themselves pretty well over a few weeks.
Cheese, other than refrigerating it, how long can they go for?
I mean, if it's vacuum sealed, if it's wrapped just in paper, we check it in on it in a few weeks. Ultimately, if there's surface mold, you cut it off, but I don't want to sell it in that situation. If you take a wedge of cheese home, you leave it in the fridge too long, there's a little surface mold, you just cut it off, eat around it. So it depends if it's vacuum sealed or in paper. But we don't really have too much of a problem. We've got a pretty good handle on the weekly flow and the demand. So you can be guaranteed to get freshly wrapped cheese here every week.
So you've been doing this long enough, so you have a pretty good idea of how much inventory you should be stocking.
Yeah, and really slow moving, really slow at bringing stuff in and a little bit at a time, and just reading the customers, talking to the customers. I just tried to tiptoe into this because I know that retail can get out of control, like where you do lose touch. But I'm so busy making my own cheese too that I've just been try to be really conservative with this side of it, but responding a lot to what the customers have to say.
Well, that's a smart business person.
So
good.
Thanks.
Hey, over in this case.
Yes.
Well, we've got main meal stuff on the top, but you've got all these different types of meat products. Where do they come from?
So they come from my parents' farm in Norwalk.
Okay.
They raise grass-fed beef, and we sell it by the cut down here. We also do a little bit custom at the farm where people can buy a half or whole cow, but this has been a really great, kind of keeps me connected to the family farm a little bit.
Yeah.
It was really hard to leave there because my heart was really there, but it's been fun to collaborate with my parents, and it's beautiful meat. People love it. We have a little bit of a wholesale market. We do sell our burger to a few restaurants, and then we sell it by the cut here. So the steaks are really, really popular. It's tricky because, you know, it's been great to develop a couple of wholesale markets for the burger, because I find I sell out of the steaks here at the shop, and then we have a lot, depending on the season. When it's barbecue season, people are grilling, we sell out of steaks, and then we have all this burger. So now I'm working with Front and Main in Waterville. They buy a lot of our burger for their restaurant, and so we're able to like keep the momentum going. And we do deals here at the shop too, package deals, and which makes us feel good, like discounts for larger orders for people. And yeah, so that's this side of it. And then over here we have everything kind of means something to me. You know, I try to carry things where I know the producer, or I know the product line. For example, the crackers up top, Mill Cove, Nina, who runs that company, we've met at multiple food events.
Okay.
But we were next to each other at one of them, and I'm like, why don't we just have a booth together? Because she's, you know, sampling the crackers, I'm sampling the cheese. And so we did. Eventually, we shared a booth, and she's just an awesome girl. I love supporting her company. She makes great crackers. So we carry those, the Nomad Pasta, they're in Belfast. Just a small company, a couple that runs it. They make beautiful pasta. Love sharing it with everybody here at the shop. And then Turtle Rock Farm, they have their fruit spreads and their pickles and dilly beans and relishes and fun. I also try to carry stuff that goes well on a cheese board. So if somebody comes in here, they're like, okay, I can get everything I need for a cheese board. That's sort of my ultimate goal. Like we carry the cured meats from Springdale Farm, the salami and the sopressata and chorizo, and because you know those pair well with a cheese board too.
Absolutely. So you've got cheeses, meats, various accoutrements. If I'm saying that correctly.
Yes.
And all that stuff. Now you need one more thing.
Oh.
Wine.
I know. Well, they sell it. They sell it next door at the Miller's table.
Oh, that's true.
So if you need a bottle of wine, head over there. They've got a wine selection right there at the cafe.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You got you covered.
Yes. Yeah, we're covered there. Yeah.
Okay. Now you also have these little gift things. You got
sweatshirts with the cow face, onesies, hats. Yeah. It's so fun to see the crooked faced cow bouncing around town everywhere. You know. A lot of my friends have them, and it's just a fun gifts. So we carry the hats and the merchandise, and then some books as well. The cookbook, the Lost Kitchen cookbook. I've known Erin for many years. She's been using my smoked ricotta at her restaurant, and so they're all signed, and her memoir. And then we have Maine the Way, which is a really cool Maine-based publication. I love books. I wish I had more. I could get out of control. I wish I had more space, but it's good. It's simple.
See, there's going to be a time you outgrow your space.
Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
But it's a beautiful space. And now,
thanks.
Before we run out of show, we actually should go back and look at the cheese making process a little bit. How about we do that?
Sure. Yep. Sounds good.
So here we are. We're at the center of the cheese making here, and describe how this goes.
So like I said, I received milk on Monday or Tuesday. So the following day, I pump the milk into my cheese vat, which is over here. It is a 100-gallon vat. So I pump it in, and depending on what cheese I'm making that day, the process is quite different. So ricotta, I make about 100-gallon batches. It takes me a full day to make, and then press, cool overnight, package, get out the next day. And then aged cheese takes me several days to make.
This is aged here.
So this is a batch of raclette that I made yesterday.
Okay.
I press it overnight. I'm salting right now. I'll salt today and tomorrow. I do a surface salt. Some cheesemakers brine, submerge it in a brine. I do a surface salt. And then I wait for it to air dry for a few days, and then I start washing it with a local beer.
And this is raclette?
Yes, this is raclette style.
Tell me what raclette is, or it's a style, right?
Yes, so I don't like the name of it actually is Bonfire, because you know, it was developed in the Alps, and I'm not like, I don't have their original recipe. That's their name, you know, for it. That's why I say style, and it means to scrape. Okay. So as I said at the beer fest, you know, that's how it's served. You melt it and scrape it onto food. Okay. Yeah, potatoes, bread, anything you want. Okay. So it's a style of cheese. I've worked with I've kind of put a few recipes that I've found together. I went to a workshop with Peter Dixon in Vermont. He's sort of a legend in the cheese making world, and learned from him, and then developed kind of my own recipe. But it's an aged cheese. I age it for at least 3 months. I wash it for a few weeks. So it's really something I've taken in a recipe and kind of made it into my own thing. So that's Bonfire.
Now tell me about the washing process. I saw the term washing. And
yeah.
You wash it with different things. I even saw you did Cafer cider.
Yeah, yep.
And you do what, beers that you do it with?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah. So I've used cider a few times. It'll develop kind of a different rind. I'm playing with it. Like I said, like aged cheese is something that it takes a while to figure out if you're doing the right or wrong thing, because you want to let it mature, you want to let it age out. So it's been a slow moving process for me. I've really liked my results with the cider. I've also liked it with the juniper pale ale. And so it's a really creative process. That's what I enjoy about it so much. But basically every other day I flip and I rub it down. I have a little brush. Okay. And I brush it with the cider or the beer. It just makes it glorious.
So is it a fairly mild cheese that takes on the taste of what you're rubbing it with?
Yeah, you'll get a little bit of an aftertaste. That's the goal. I don't want to take over. I don't want to take it over. I still want the cheese flavor to come through, but it's like the finishing flavor is as an ale-ish aftertaste. Okay. Yeah. So.
But you melt it and cut it and put it on. Yeah. Whatever you want to put it on.
Yeah. Yep. Some batches I smoke too, but I've kind of, once you start doing that, you're kind of adding too many flavors to it. So you've got the ale-ish, you got the smoke, you know. So I've simplified the recipe a bit, so I don't smoke it as much anymore.
The cheese on its own is fairly mild.
It depends on how long you wash it and how long you age it. Okay. As you age out, the flavors do get more complex. Yeah. My issue with aging out for a long time is storage space and also demand, and trying to keep up with the demand and cash flow, and leaving on something on the shelf for a year is really difficult. I found that I like the batches too. I feel like they're really mature and ready to eat around 4 months. Okay. And so yeah, every cheese is different though, but technically the longer you age it, the better it is. Especially if you're working with a raw milk cheese.
Well, you've been in business long enough now, so you have a storage of some of these aged cheeses.
Yeah. Well, yes, but I try to focus more on aged cheese production in the fall and winter and early spring, so I have a steady supply through the summer, because that's my big season. So this time of year I have basically nothing, because I've sold all of it all summer long. So I'm like starting over again, because I'm too busy making fresh cheese in the summertime.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm starting to get back onto the aged cheese production, getting back into it, because cheese curds and fresh ricotta have just slammed my summer so far. It's been hard to keep up, so we're starting back into it now.
Cheese curds, I've always enjoyed that, but first time I had cheese curds, like most people, was in Quebec.
Yes.
And at one time I didn't see them around here. Now you're starting to see them around here.
Yeah. There quite a few cheesemakers make them, but we all have our own spin on them. So. Yeah.
Well, yours were very good.
Thanks.
So anyway, so the process to make this is how many days actually to make this? I know the aging process is up to 4 months or so.
So basically 1 full day to make, a couple days of salting, air drying, and then I start washing. So it's several weeks. Okay. Several weeks to make this style of cheese. And then I want to age it out, like I said, around 4 months or so.
Now you talked about the pressing process on cheese. Is
No, I just basically use its own weight. I stack the wheels.
Okay.
Yep. I don't have a press.
Okay.
I haven't had much luck with them. I haven't found a good one for my scale. So I basically use their own weight, and I do have some weights that I add to the top, but I stack and press.
Yeah.
So.
And you've got all these herb cheeses, ricotta cheeses that are pressed cheeses, right?
Yes, I ladle them into molds, and I set them in trays, and I just let them drain out overnight. I used to press them more like in the very beginning. I guess I still say that, pressed ricotta, but basically it's in molds and it drains overnight, and it's its own weight. It just like, it drains out. So
that makes it easy.
Yeah, I mean, essentially,
Well,
none of it's that easy, but it's very time intensive, but
well, it saves
and
you
labor.
some equipment anyway.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So this big vat is where the process happens, right? Pretty much. And what do you have to stir everything? Or
Yeah.
how does that go?
Can we maybe close the doors now and just talk about it? Okay, I'm just getting insecure about food safety stuff.
Oh, sure. Let's talk about the big vat.
Oh, the big cheese vat.
Yeah.
So that comes from Holland. Bought it through a distributor in Canada.
Okay.
And had it, they're basically custom made. Mine is special because it has heating elements as well as it's really well insulated.
Okay.
It's a triple wall vat. So what's great about that is when I make ricotta, I heat it up to about 180, 185 degrees.
Yeah.
And because it's so well insulated, it doesn't scald the milk. It doesn't burn the milk,
Oh, okay.
which
Good.
that's incredible because my old vat was a little steam kettle, and no matter how much I stirred and how slowly I stirred, you would burn a little bit on the bottom, and you just lose yield. And so this is a great vat. It's super efficient, really well insulated, so it can handle the heat. And finally, it took me about 2 years to really understand how to use it. It's been a learning process, but yeah, that's been a great upgrade.
But physically, do you have to go in there and stir?
Yeah, but it does have an agitator.
Okay.
Yeah, it has an agitator, but I do stir by hand. I have my paddles and all my tools because it is hard. It's hard to really.
How much physical work?
Yeah, like my back hurts a little. No, because you scoop the. You're in the vat. When you're making aged cheese. You were in there. You're working with the curds. You have to feel I'm very hands-on because I can feel the moisture when the curd is right, when it's time to drain and hoop and press. After you do it so long, you can feel it. You can feel when it's ready. Fresh ricotta, you're not touching that. It's super hot, so I ladle that out of the vat.
Okay.
It's not hands-on so much in the curd because it's have to heat it to such high temperatures.
Okay.
So.
Anything else you want to describe in the workroom?
I think it's a pretty basic room. I had designed 2 cheese rooms before I moved down here, so I had a really good idea of what I wanted. One of the best upgrades moving down to this space was the milk pump system, because I used to carry 5-gallon buckets of milk. I used to carry.
Oh my.
Yeah, I would haul the 5-gallon buckets and I would stack them in this refrigerator, and that system was, so much time, so labor intensive, What's
the milk tanking?
The milk tank's on the other side. We can go to that room too.
Okay.
But buying that little milk pump, it's a variable speed. It's really gentle on the milk. I pump it from one tank to the other, and I'm not hauling buckets of milk anymore. I did that for 10 years. That was a lot. And to scale up, there's just no way I could store that much milk. I needed a storage tank. So we can go look at that now if you want.
Yeah.
But
why don't we go take a look at that? Okay. Let's do that now.
Yeah.
Good spot
So that right back there is the milk port. So the milk line goes through there out to the tank, and we pump the milk into this is a 200-gallon Mueller tank I got out from Wisconsin. This system has been a huge improvement. Like I said, no more 5-gallon buckets. I buy in up to 200 gallons a week. And make cheese, immediately following. So yeah, this has been.
How long are your cheese making days? That must be.
Depends on the cheese, but I mean, 8 to 12-hour days normally. Yep.
So you're 6 days a week and some long days.
Long days. Yeah. Yep.
But you're talking about hiring some more staff here or having more staff?
We'll see. Yeah, I'm going to see how, we've got the holidays coming up. I've got a good crew on board right now, help with the shop. But then this winter, I'm going to do some product. I'm thinking about more products and maybe getting some help in the cheese room.
Okay.
But the one thing I hear a lot at the shop is they come in and like, we want your cheese. And I'm like, but look at all these beautiful cheeses I offer, and people still want to try, because it's like they know I make it here and they want to try my cheese. So I just want to invest a lot more. I feel like I've been so tied up with the shop and just the scale up and the business side of it that I just want to get back to cheese making again. So I hope this winter is a lot of getting my hands back into it and making some, aging some cheese out, because that's really where the creativity comes in, and I love that part of it. So.
Any particular holiday marketing that you're going to do? I mean,
yeah,
people eat a lot of cheese around Christmas time, I would think.
Yeah, we're really hoping to do a Cheese of the Month Club. Trying to get that off the ground, where you can buy like a cheese subscription, and every month we would put together a cheese box or basket with new fun cheeses and accoutrements, things that go well with it, maybe recipe cards, information about what the products are. We've been talking about a cheese club. We're trying to get that off the ground for the holidays. So
you're between making and marketing and going to all the farmers markets and the other place you go. And, it's a lot.
Yeah, no, it's good. I enjoy it. It's my lifestyle,
Well, that's the key.
Yeah.
If you're going to work that hard, you're going to enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah.
And you sure seem to.
Yeah, I do.
So I think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, we're back outside again. It's such a beautiful day. It's a shame to be inside for any great length of time. Although we really need to get inside and see how things are made and how things are done, and your product line and everything, it was very eye-opening.
Good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything that we've missed, Amy? I think we've kind of done most of the things here, right?
I think the only last thing that we're going to touch on was the farmers market, and how great it's been to still be part of that. It's outside here every Saturday from May through end of November.
Yep.
It's important. I just want everybody to know that they're decided to stay outside longer again this year.
Yeah.
And it's every Saturday from 9 to 1.
9 to 1.
So, and it's been going over 25 years now, the farmers market has been running.
Yeah, it's been going a long time. To be honest with you, I remember it when it was started out, I think at the front of the municipal parking lot out here.
Yeah.
And then it moved to the Skowhegan Savings parking lot for a period of time. And then it's been over here near the Somerset Grist Mill for a number of years now. So it's been pretty successful. Yeah, one quick thing. You were actually ran it for a while.
Yep, I was the manager for just a couple years. And that was a great experience, being so closely involved. And then when we moved down here, and scaling up this took so much time and energy. And I think it's good to get new energy into the market as a leading role every few years. New ideas, keep people on their toes. But yeah, it's a great group of farmers, and such high quality local food. And the spirit of everybody coming together during COVID was great to be part of too. Everybody jumped in, pitched in mornings of farmers market to aggregate all the orders that we received all week through the pre-order pickup system, and so everybody's here super early packing orders, and just really came together through that time. So it's a special group, and I'm glad to be still connected to them, because that's how I started for so many years, was just setting up a booth at market. So
well, you folks figured it out during COVID, and actually the outside stuff and buying local things and bringing it home and cooking it yourself rather than going out to restaurants, which unfortunately restaurants were hit pretty hard during the pandemic, but certainly for the retail business, taking food home and cooking it, that part did
Yeah.
pretty well.
Yeah, it did, and it's nice to see restaurants opening back up again.
Yeah,
and
thank goodness.
yeah, getting to the other side of that.
Yeah,
So.
thank goodness.
Yeah, because they're huge too to our local food system. I mean, the restaurants I work with source so many of the food from local farms, like Meridian's in Fairfield and Front and Main in Waterville, and just that care about who they're getting their food from. So, so I'm glad to see that they made it through as well.
Yeah, thank goodness. Now
Yeah.
let's hope we get past this and on to normal times
Yeah.
again.
I don't know if we'll ever be the same after this,
Yeah.
but yeah, moving forward for sure, it would be
Yeah,
great.
we'll see.
Yeah.
Well,
Thanks for coming today.
Yeah, and thank you for having us. This is absolutely wonderful. And it was nice to talk with Amy Rowbottom and find out about your business. It was very, very interesting this morning.
Thank you.
And I'm sure our audience will certainly find that to be the case.
Great.
And in the meantime, I also mention, as I do in every show, the creator of the show was Katie Willett. Katie is at Maple Crest Nursing Home now. Unfortunately, can't be a direct participant of the show, but what I do after the show is I call her and give her an update.
Nice.
And she will be absolutely excited to hear that Amy Rowbottom was on the show. I can guarantee you that. So,
Awesome.
thank you very much, folks, and now you know.